And welcome in, everyone, to Golf Sports Net. Doug Holton along with Randy Bergen. The start of college football season is now upon us, as this weekend a number of exciting games. And Thursday night we kicked it off, Randy, with a couple of games. The Tennessee Volunteers really had a struggle with Appalachian State.
Well, they did. I think that for Butch Jones, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Tennessee. I think a lot of pundits thought that Tennessee might be the contender for the East Division. But after watching last night's ball game, it's going to be interesting. That offensive line for Tennessee, I thought, struggled quite a bit. And Appalachian State, of course, not a bad team at all. Take nothing away from them. But this is Tennessee. You're playing in Knoxville. That score and having to go into overtime, I think Tennessee's got some questions that certainly have to be answered.
Yeah, that shocked me. 3 points for Tennessee midway through the third quarter. Also, Will Muschamp getting his first victory at South Carolina Thursday night, as they came back in the fourth quarter to win that ball game. But Muschamp, I don't know if he answered any questions, but they're off to a 1-0 start.
Well, I think you have to give Vanderbilt a lot of credit. They came out and played a very good ball game. For South Carolina, again, there's some questions for Muschamp that have to be answered in that quarterback situation. Of course, he had rotating quarterbacks in. But if you're from our area, we kind of kept our eyes on South Carolina due to a guy that played at Bayside, number 28, the linebacker for South Carolina, Jonathan Walton. He had a good game, but I think, again, offensively for the Gamecocks, there's some questions that certainly have to be answered in order for them to be a contender in that East Division of the SEC.
Right, and Will Muschamp, of course, had his troubles offensively when he was the head coach at Florida. Okay, Saturday, some big football games coming up, of course. Number 1 Alabama against number 20 Southern Cal. And Randy, it'll be interesting to see Alabama in the quarterback situation as well. Cooper Bateman, also Blake Barnett, battling for that starting spot. They may both see action in game 1.
Well, and I would agree with you. I think that Saban plans on working both of them at quarterback, and we'll have a definition of who that quarterback will be for 2016. As a fan, we're anxious to see, but it seems like as an Alabama fan, we always go into the year asking the question, who's the quarterback going to be? Right. We'll find out Saturday night.
Sometimes that's a good question to have. They've got a bunch of guys that can play. Kirby Smart and a little shuffling in the coaching staff for Alabama in the offseason. Does that affect them at all in the 16 season?
I don't think so. I think with Jeremy Pruitt in there as a defensive coordinator, it is just a system. It's a Saban system. I think these guys will go through it, whether Kirby Smart is there or Jeremy Pruitt is there. I think it's just a system that Saban has in place.
Mm-hmm. All right, the late night game Saturday night, the Auburn Tigers taking on number 2 Clemson at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. The Tigers a big underdog in this one. Can they pull the upset perhaps?
Well, it'll be interesting. Again, there's a quarterback situation there at Auburn that has to be answered. I think Auburn certainly has the athletes, but I'll tell you, you can't take anything away from Dabo Swinney and the Tigers of Clemson. They're a good team. They want this win. I think it's going to make for a very good ball game.
Mm-hmm. We talked about Will Muschamp. Right. Of course, last year at Auburn, Kevin Steele is there now. Will the defense be improved? Many people are thinking they'll be improved in 2016.
Yeah, and they could be. They could be. Obviously, the first game of the season, whether it's in college or high school, whatever, you see some of the mistakes, you see some of the positives and negatives. It'll be interesting to see this first game. I think that Auburn might have a chance, but they're going to have to play. Everything has to go perfect.
Exactly right. I think so too. All right, big Thursday night in college football. Enjoy the games on Saturday. We'll be following it all right here on Golf Sports Net. For Randy Bergen, I'm Doug Holton. We'll see you next time.